Okay, so what are the policies that are best suited for achieving Goal to Zero Hunger under the Sustainable Development Goals suite? Goal 2 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals aims to end hunger, achieve food security and improved nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. So it wants to do all these things, and they should be together because ending hunger without being careful about sustainable agriculture or nutrition can defeat the purpose, so achieve one thing but destroy many other things. Achieving this goal is crucial for ensuring a world where everyone has access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. Policies play a crucial role in achieving Goal 2 by providing a framework for action, guiding decision making processes, and addressing the root causes of hunger and food insecurity. Here are some ways in which policies can help achieve Goal 2. Investment in agriculture. Policies that promote investment in agriculture can help increase productivity, improve food security, and boost rural livelihoods. Of course, promoting sustainable agriculture is critical for as a policy tool for achieving Goal 2. We already read a bit about it. Addressing climate change. So mitigation and adaptation come from the climate change group who are focused on that, and then for good measure they will also talk about sustainability. And you have carbon capture and worrying about early warnings as parts of adaptation, long-term strategies, everything. Does that automatically also include sustainable agriculture and zero hunger? Not unless we pay attention. So climate change policies, actions, innovation, science, everything can actually go on without paying careful attention to sustainable agriculture, so they have to be explicitly tied together. Improving food systems, we already discussed that. Supporting nutrition programs, of course, this is critical for both sustainable agricultural side to make sure food remains nutritious, and from the zero hunger side that we are feeding people to actually meet the nutrition needs as well. Enhancing food security governance. What does that mean? Policies that strengthen food security governance promote transparency, accountability, and participation, and ensure access to information and resources for all stakeholders are essential for achieving Goal 2. Okay, what are the policies that can actually be a barrier, hinder SDG 2 instead of promoting zero hunger? Policies hindering SDG 2 zero hunger. Several policies can hinder the achievement of SDG 2 zero hunger. These include protectionist trade policies. This happens in various ways. For example, 2023-24 was a very strong El Nino. Early in 2023, the spring itself, forecasts came out saying it will be a strong El Nino, which turned out to be true. But India expects droughts during El Ninos, so it said we may have a drought, and it started clamping down on food exports and grain exports and so on, rice, wheat, etc. And it turned out to be, it was not a drought, but the markets were perturbed. Countries like Indonesia were affected by India's actions. Is that a protectionist trade policy? No, but it's a decision that a country makes for its own sake, and you cannot blame for that. But trade policies can be more complicated in terms of tariffs, quotas, and other trade barriers, which can also affect food supply and supply chains and so on for profit and so on. Subsidies for inefficient agricultural practices. So giving free electricity to pump water can create lots of mining of groundwater, unsustainable mining of groundwater. Fertilizer subsidies work the same way, and so on. Weak intellectual property rights enforcement. So this is kind of interesting, because if US is spending 6% of its GDP on, let's say, agricultural research, produces lots of knowledge, is it expected to just share it freely, or if it shares, how does it make sure that its intellectual properties are protected and not sold from getting it for free and so on. So intellectual property rights protection can discourage innovation in agriculture, limiting the development of new technologies to improve crop yields and resilience. There are some reports on that you can read. Poor infrastructure, of course, is always a handicap. Limited access to land and water resources, it's who for who. So unequal access to land and water can limit smallholder farmers' ability. So especially women landholders suffer a lot from this. So there are gender issues as well that FAO reports talk about. Climate change policies, while it is necessary to address climate change, but some climate policies such as biofuel mandates can compete with food production for land and water resources. So if bioenergy becomes a critical part of mitigation, and it begins to compete with water, land and food, then it's going to have a deleterious effect on sustainable agriculture and zero hunger. What are the policies that can promote SDG to zero hunger then? Investment in agricultural research and development, we already mentioned this as something we need. Support for smallholder farmers, obviously. Social safety nets such as food assistance programs and conditional cash transfers can help vulnerable populations access food and improve their nutrition status. Okay, so sustainable agriculture policies are obviously important. Trade liberalization, climate smart agriculture. This is a very broad term, but still there are some very specific ways in which this is achievable, implementable. So combination of policies tailored to local needs and circumstances are often needed to achieve zero hunger as well. Also successful policies here. Brazil, as an example, Brazil's Fome Zero program. Brazil's Fome Zero program was a comprehensive social assistance initiative aimed at reducing hunger and poverty by integrating cash transfers, food distribution, and investments in rural development. The programs significantly reduced hunger rates, particularly among low-income families. India's public distribution system is another example. India's PDS, or Public Distribution System, is a government-operated food security program that provides subsidized food grains to a significant portion of the population. While the PDS has played a crucial role in ensuring food security for millions, especially during crises, challenges such as leakage and inefficiencies remain, but a good program can always be improved. Bad policies have to be removed. Examples of unsuccessful policies and policy gaps then. Sub-Saharan Africa's agricultural subsidies. In many sub-Saharan African countries, agricultural subsidy programs have been produced to boost food production. However, these programs are often poorly targeted, resulting in inefficiencies, corruption, market distortions, and reduced incentives for innovation. Global trade restrictions are another example of unsuccessful policies. Trade restrictions such as tariffs, quotas, and other barriers can limit access to affordable food, particularly for vulnerable populations. These measures often increase food prices, reduce food security, and disadvantage small-scale farmers. Okay, so key policy gaps and lessons learned. Targeted social safety nets. Brazil's example we looked at is a good one. Sustainable agricultural practices. How to incentivize and encourage farmers to adopt the methods that may initially, or that may even be a negative on their income levels, but they are good for the overall sustainability. So how do you, let's say, compensate them for the losses they incur by engaging in these sustainable practices? Investments in rural infrastructure, so roads, irrigation systems, storage facilities, etc. Strong governance and anti-corruption measures. Obviously, to ensure that policies are actually implemented appropriately, you need strong governance and anti-corruption measures, international cooperation for intellectual property, market issues, climate change, trade barriers, food price volatility, etc. are of course important. Gendered impacts of policies. Policies can have varying impacts on men and women, often intensifying existing gender disparities. So what are the key concerns there? Credit access, extension services, land rights that we mentioned before. Women often face insecure land tenure due to legal and cultural constraints, restricting their decision-making power over land use and their ability to secure loans or investments tied to land ownership. So these are very important. How do we harness technology for sustainable food production? In recent years, technology has played a crucial role in revolutionizing the way to produce and consume food. By harnessing various advanced technologies, it can enhance the efficiency, sustainability, and productivity of food production, also reducing environmental impacts in the meantime. So we'll look at a table for that. Here are some ways in which technology is being used to promote sustainable food production. I won't read all of it, but you can see lots of good citations are given. Improvements estimated in terms of percentage with respect to not having this technology are also shown. Vertical farming, aquaponics, hydroponics, biotechnology. So the advantages or key benefits are shown here. Land use reduction, water use reduction, yield increase, supply chain impacts, and so on. So blockchain and transparency, smart irrigation systems, food waste reduction, apps, renewable energy integration, food tracking systems, robotic farming, soil health monitoring, 3D printing in food production, all-in crop management, remote sensing for farm monitoring, hybrid and electric machinery, urban farming, and indoor agriculture. So those are some of the examples. Let's read a few more key benefits. Conservation, food waste reduction, carbon emission reduction, food safety improvement, optimized crop management, enhanced farm monitoring, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and lower carbon emissions as well. Okay, so let's then come back and talk a little bit more about the details of how precision agriculture works and other details like approaches to enhancing food production. So you want to deal with zero hunger by increasing food production, improving supply chains, implementing or ingesting, adopting technologies, etc., while being also sustainable and reducing the impact on the environment and so on. So overall review covers all these things, and as I said, tremendous number of very nice references that you can follow up on. So let's come back and continue the discussion.